questions. Section 1 is IP information. Section 2, objective area information. And Section 3 is execution information. So the 4 starred items are the just minimum things required from this 15 line in order to execute. I would argue that if you have those 4, you are good enough to execute, all right, or at least launch. Any questions on the 15 line? Cool. Okay, last thing here is the on-scene commander / RMC checklist. So this again was pulled from the PR MTTP. I'm not saying that you should go line by line and read all of this verbatim upon checking into an objective area, but you could probably highlight some key stuff. So this was pulled from the Sandy 1 checklist. Not all of it, it's not an exhaustive list, but this is a pretty good direction for your trap exits. Again, PR MTTP. All right, any questions on that stuff? Okay, cool. So for Marine Corps trap, standard criteria is reasonable certainty the IP is alive, location of personnel, equipment, and aircraft must be known, all right? So in a new construct, we'll talk about the 15th MU that is upcoming. So kind of some key billets here. So RESCAP will be served by F-35s, RESCORT 35s and or H-1s, RV could be 53s, 22s, or H-1s. And then the typical ground extraction force that you're gonna see is a platoon. They're going to try to cram 36 dudes. Obviously, it's going to be dependent upon assets that we have available. Standard for a MU is 81s or CAT, and then it's going to be comprised of a second lieutenant, maybe a first lieutenant, assistant team lead with a staff sergeant, and then a JTAC. All right. So where does the ARG fit into a MU construct? Like, are they important? Are they unimportant? Do we need their buy-in when we're launching from the ship?
Yeah, because they're not in line with it, they're going to be driving the opposite direction, and that's 4 deck cycles. It's all contingent on that.
Yes, I would argue that, like the ARG, like we live and die by the ARG, right? If they're not on board, we cannot succeed, all right? So, what does a commander need? Well, it changes, right? So the point I'm trying to make with this question is that you need to understand what the beast needs, and you need to feed it to them, okay? And then there's really 2 commanders that are going to make a decision, right? So the MU commander and the FIBRON commander. So they should get on board with, hey, you know, in order to execute this, this is what we need, right? And the unfortunate truth is that they're not going to be on board until this thing actually goes down. Okay, alert postures. So, like, who has the authority to ramp down the alert?
That changes.
Yeah, exactly, right? So like who holds the authority? Well, it depends upon each situation, all right? So one thing I'd submit to you is like when we were sending trap alert off Libya, what we did to do this was alert 120, 60, 30, 15, and 5. Each entity on the ship, on the blue side and the green side, that had equities in this mission, we drafted out like an alert posture for them, and then we rehearsed it week after week after week, all right? So I'd say the alert postures are very important. If people don't understand their roles, it's gonna get messed up really, really quickly. All right, any questions on this stuff? Okay, trap planning. So these are a couple things that I threw together that when given a trap mission, this is what I'm thinking about. I think if you have these 6 questions answered, you're probably going to be in pretty good shape and able to execute. So first one is a no-brainer, right? You need to know the IP's location and its condition. So output here is going to be fuel, required assets, and then the equipment to support this recovery, all right? Next is going to be the threat. So output here is assets, tactics, and ordnance. What assets do we have available to support this? That's going to drive our trap force composition. Alert posture and location, we've already touched on this quite a bit, but who has the authority to ramp down alert, and then can we pre-position those assets somewhere? All right, I think the next 2 are pretty important on this list. So can you pull information en route, and then if so, how are you going to do that, right? So we don't have Link 16, so it's going to have to be voice. The SATCOM doesn't really function. So this is like a problem that needs to be planned to and discussed, all right? And then launch and execute authority. So 2 different authorities, potentially. Just need to figure out who holds launch authority, who holds execute authority, and then the comm pathways in order to execute once you're outbound. All right, so like I briefed previously, minimums execute, threats, location, condition, and authentication. All right, any questions on this stuff? Okay, so kind of last slide here. So future considerations, obviously our stuff is all voice, right? The Air Force, the way they want to run it is nothing but the digital recovery. Current configuration of their fleet of aircraft, they can do that. Okay, next, scaled isolation events. So I attended the PR and TTP rewrite. I was the only Marine Corps rep there, which was a mistake. But these 3 services had a much different perspective than the Marine Corps did, really in the scale of these isolation events, right? So for the Army, it's like, hey, in the future fight, what if we have an isolated battalion? How are we going to recover these folks? Nobody had a good answer to any of these questions, right? For the Navy, what if a ship gets sunk? Like, how are we recovering those folks? For the Air Force, a flight of 10. You know, and these are questions like, if we go to war, you know, in Asia, we're going to have to answer, right? IADS penetration is going to be associated with that. Okay, kind of 2 big things here. So training opportunities for TRAP here. Rather than everything just being notionalized, the 2 training opportunities are the EOTG TRAP course. You're quickly going to find out that the platoon commander is showing up. He does not even know what TRAP stands for. And so it's literally just blocking and tackling, all right? The focus is the battalion because they're the ones getting the training. You guys are simply just a training aid, all right? The main takeaway from this is that that course is not representative of how TRAP should go, all right? And then next is red flag rescue. So I hit on this a little bit previously, but like this is the premier venue to conduct PR. I had one lined up to go to, then COVID happened, and then it never happened again. So I did not attend. Okay, that's it for me. What questions can I answer? Please,